Hi, welcome to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about seasonal products, but specifically those items that we'd sell through the summer. So when should we start doing that purchasing? Why is it so important that we're prepared, we're ready for this? So we'll take a look at the pros and cons of selling these seasonal items. We'll look at the kind of items that we want to sell and how to analyse those deals to make sure we're only purchasing items that are going to sell really well. Now firstly, if you're new to the channel, welcome in. I hope you find something within these videos that you can take away that will help you within your own Amazon business. Now if you have any questions anytime, please do pop them below, or you can jump over in our Facebook group as well. I'll pop a link to this in the description below. Again, you'll find lots of great tips, lots of support in there from other sellers. So going back to today's topic, a seasonal item is an item that sells particularly well during a certain time of year. So obviously we've just had Easter, perhaps you've shifted a lot of chocolate, a lot of Easter eggs, and then we've got things like Halloween, Christmas. Now Christmas time you would expect to sell a lot more toys, a lot more gift things, decorations, and it's a time that typically as an Amazon seller you will make your highest sales of the year. Now there obviously are lots of other events through the year. You've got things like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, but they're all very short windows of time to actually sell those products, and if you blink you will literally miss it. So it is really important you're prepared, you have all that stock ready to go. Now summer is obviously a longer period of time for us to sell through those products, so we need to be prepared, we need to be ready well in advance. You should always use any opportunities like this to scale, grow that business just as you would during Q4. So what are the pros to selling during those seasonal periods? So firstly, seasonal periods are a great opportunity to really increase those sales. Now if you can find the right product, those sales can really rocket. The more sales you make, the more money you'll make, the more you'll have to reinvest back into the business. So use this to your advantage. Now you might also find you've got a lot less competition. So a lot of sellers like to have products in that they can sell all year round. Now it's far easier to source replenishable items, to keep them restocked, than have to constantly search, analyse new deals. So less competition could bring more sales, it could bring higher profit margins. Now as with everything else though, there are downsides as well. So let's just take a look at some of those disadvantages. So if you predict those sales wrongly, you could end up with a lot of leftover stock. Now if this happens, realistically you're going to be stuck with that stock for another year. Now this is really not ideal, it's not going to help that cash flow, so it's really important you try and get those levels correct. So you definitely don't want to overbuy stock, but at the same time you need to make sure you've got enough in to meet that customer demand. Now guessing those stock levels can be really difficult. So this is where you might struggle a little bit, getting those stock levels right, and this is probably the point where you want to look into a paid-for software if you're not already using one. Now we will look at this a little bit later, but for now let's just take a look at what actually sells well during that summer period. So knowing what to buy, knowing where to start looking is the first hurdle we're likely to come up against. So what we need to do is just put pen to paper, do a little bit of brainstorming, come up with some ideas. So you could just do this by yourself, or you could sit down with friends and family, just get a great big sheet of paper, make lots of notes. Think about all the different things you would use yourself or need yourself through that summer period. Just jot all of this down, it'll just help to give you a few ideas, give you a bit of an idea of where to get started. So you could think about all the different places you'll visit, all the different things you'll do. So if it's a really nice day, you plan on going to the beach, then perhaps you'll need a bucket and spade, you might need a blanket, some plastic beakers. These are all things that are likely to sell well. Write it all down, start researching those products. Now there's also a lot of different sports people like to get involved with, so have a think about that. Even if you're staying at home, you've got people over, you've got friends and family, you're having a barbecue, think about things you need for that. So barbecues themselves, the utensils, you might want garden games to keep the children occupied. Just write a list, write down absolutely everything you would use yourself. Now if you can find a great item that sells really well day in, day out through that summer period, you can make yourself a lot of money. So to get an idea of those sales, we want to make sure we analyse those deals as best we possibly can. So as I mentioned before, you'll probably want to get a paid-for software to do this. Now the software that I'm currently using, one I would definitely recommend to yourselves, is Buybot Pro. This is my top recommended piece of software when it comes to selling anything on Amazon. So if we just take a look at this paddling pool for an example, now you'd expect this to be more of a summer item, so when it's hot outside, you've got the barbecue going, you've got people over perhaps, you just want to keep the children cooled down, occupied, it's normally a hot item that sells really, really well. So once you analyse that product, you just want to scroll all the way down past the product description, down to these data charts just here. So we can see at the bottom that this is currently set to data over 90 days, but we want to view a broader period of time. So what we really want to know is what this sales like during that summer period. So what we can do is select here where it says all time 2,993 days. So what we want to be looking at here is this green line. So this is a BSR line, it shows us how well an item is selling. So we can see there are lots of ups and downs, but what we're most interested in are these sections where this line is at its lowest. Now we can hover over any point in time and we can see all those important details. So we've got things like the BSR, the FBA price and the buy box price. So just looking at this graph, we can see a very obvious pattern year after year. So those sales really start picking up around April time right through to September. Now if you want to, what you can do is just drag here and you can look at this particular section in a little bit more detail. So just here we can see that this BSR line is really starting to drop around sort of end of April, and by May it's almost flat line. So if we just go across, we can see, at some points the BSR is number one. It's literally the best selling product within its category. Now as we get to the end of August, we get into September, we can see this line slowly starts to climb back up again. So this shows us that we're nearing the end of that seasonal period. We need to stop buying stock, try and shift everything we've got remaining. So if we were to purchase this item, we know we're going to be pretty safe. If we can buy at the right price, it is a really good fast seller. Now I'd say one of the most important things when you're doing this sourcing for the summer is to set yourself a budget. Now some of these items may be a few months before those sales really take off, so you've got to allow for this in your cash flow. Make sure you've got the cash flow to carry out your normal day-to-day buying as well. Now you also need to be sure of exactly when that season ends so you don't end up with excessive amounts of stock. So this will just tie up your cash flow. You'll end up with a lot of stock that you've either got to store yourself or you've got to pay Amazon long-term storage fees on. Neither of these are ideal. So be sure you're purchasing enough inventory to meet customer demand, but not so much that you're overstocking. And if you've got Buybot Pro, make sure you're checking all those historical data charts. Use them to analyse every single item. This will really help give you an idea of the sales over certain periods of time. It will show you when those sales really peak. Using all that data will definitely make a world of difference to that sourcing. Now, if you're not already using Buybot Pro, I would definitely consider signing up. Now they do offer a 14-day free trial as well, so you can really get a feel for it, just see how it all works before you really commit. So that is all for me today, but just something to think on as we head into those warmer months, as we head towards that summer period. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Any questions, please do pop them below. Jump over on Facebook, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I will see you very soon.